At the beginning of the film, an arrogant rich kid named Grisha is returning from a club when he witnesses his automobile being towed away. He begins chasing the tow truck while yelling at the driver out of fury. Unfortunately, he has an accident and loses consciousness. Later, a man called Artyom, who is clothed in primitive attire, wakes him up in a stable. He continues telling Grisha to bring the horse to the Lord. Grisha, who is dressed similarly, is confused and tries to make sense of the scenario. Soon after, a man by the name of Avdi appears and pulls Grisha outside before thrashing him for disobeying the Lord's command to saddle the horse. After some time, the Lord appears and asks him why he hasn't prepared the horse. Grisha attempts to be rude, thinking it's a prank, but is badly beaten in the end. Despite this, the Lord offers to give Grisha one more opportunity to bring out the horse. However, the arrogant fool threatens them with his father's authority and attempts to escape, believing that everything is a joke. But the individuals are too believable and the surroundings are too realistic. Grisha ultimately finds he is a disenfranchised serf in a small Russian village. The year is 1860 and the season is summer. This occurred 6 months before serfdom was abolished. The lowest class of farmers, known as serfs, are a kind of slave. Lords own the serfs who live on their property, and in return, the poor are forced to work in the fields 24 hours a day. The Lord's soldiers ultimately catch Grisha, and he is taken away to be executed for attempting to flee. He aggressively asks to speak with a lawyer even in such a hazardous condition, until he sees another farmer hanging lifelessly from a rope. His attitude has completely changed at this point, and he asks for mercy. Grisha, who has always been treated well, is undoubtedly not accustomed to being in danger from other people. He begins recalling his previous life as a result. Grisha is the spoiled 27-year-old son of Pavel, a Russian tycoon. He treats everyone with rudeness and brashness. The film then flashes back to a few days earlier, when Grisha is in a bar attempting to make out with a stunning woman by the name of Amphisa. On the other hand, she has an attitude and mocks his stereotypical method of hitting on her. In response to a challenge, Grisha approaches a club worker who is building a champagne tower and removes 2 glasses from the base, collapsing the tower and causing a disturbance. He then hands Amphisa 1 champagne glass, stating that no other female has the same drink as her. The girl is ultimately impressed by this, and they have a drink together. Later, in his luxury vehicle, Grisha forces her to give him an oral coitus. When she refuses, he throws her out and drives off back to his house. He exceeds the speed limit while driving, which causes a police vehicle to arrive and stop him. Unexpectedly, the arrogant kid doesn't fear the police and at first tries to escape. But when the cop threatens to use weapons, he is compelled to stop. Grisha has been used to bribing the police and getting out of tough situations. He applies the same strategy even this time, but to his astonishment, the recently transferred cop refuses the bribe. Instead, in order to stop the car, he climbs its hood. Although the officer commands him to slow down, Grisha couldn't give a damn and keeps going. In the end, there is an accident, and the policeman suffers serious injuries. Grisha gets arrested, and his father comes at the station. Pavel's buddy, the station head, reminds him of the several crimes that Grisha has committed only this month. Additionally, the chief informs him that this is the last time he would assist him since Grisha has gone too far. A police officer was seriously hurt by the spoilt brat, who broke his pelvis and ribs. But despite everything, Grisha doesn't appear to feel regret or guilt. Pavel ultimately realizes that Grisha would keep acting recklessly and dangerously in the assumption that his rich dad will save him from severe punishments. After bailing him out, Pavel orders Grisha to get his life together, threatening to block all his credit cards. However, Grisha is unfazed by his father's warnings and instead mocks Pavel for being an insanely greedy person for money. Before he departs, he advises his father to concentrate on his rivals since they could soon rob him of his business. Pavel starts to find for a way to change Grisha after becoming tired of his son's nasty and irresponsible actions. He visits his friend with benefits and TV producer Anastasia. She quickly advises that he speak with Lev Arnoldovich, a peculiar psychologist who was formerly one of her business clients. Anastasia, aka Anna, says that, although Arnoldovich's techniques may seem brutal and harsh, he always achieves a good result. Pavel has his doubts about the strategy, but he chooses to go forward with it since he has no other choices. The two soon arrive to the weird psychologist's office, where Pavel gets the shock of his life when he sees Arnoldovich hanging from a rope. Unexpectedly, everything is only a delusion. Arnoldovich really specializes in creating extravagant sets for TV and film studios. He also employs his talent to help individual clients by creating realistic but false scenarios. He reveals that the project he is working on now involves a customer who wants to pretend to be hanged for testing his wife's commitment. Anna describes Pavel's situation to Arnoldovich, but before the latter can provide a solution, Pavel starts to develop doubts about the strange man's methods. Thankfully, Anna convinces him to at least hear the strategy. The scene then shifts to Grisha leaving a club. He sees his vehicle being taken and begins rushing after the tow truck, cursing the driver. Unfortunately, he seems to have an accident during the process and collapses. Following this, the scene shifts to the present, when Grisha is ready to be executed by hanging. But luckily for him, Aglaya, the Lord's daughter, approaches. Aglaya is a kind and caring young lady. She gives commands to her brother Alexei and the Lord's right-hand man Avdi to stop the execution. However, they decline right away. The Lord himself soon becomes interested in the scene. Aglaya says that today is her birthday and begs her father to stop the execution as a present. The Lord, who loves his daughter, granted her desire, much to everyone's chagrin. On the other hand, Grisha still understands things and finds it difficult to express his gratitude to Aglaya for saving his life. A vulture in the skies, ready to eat Grisha's flesh, sadly flies off to a distant wind turbine. Surprisingly, it is revealed that the bird is really a drone, and the whole 19th century town is found to have been a brilliantly produced set by Anastasia and the psychologist Arnoldovich, which was paid for with Pavel's money. Apparently, Grisha's accident was staged by his father Pavel. The project's aim is to completely change Grisha's perception of both himself and his surroundings. From their mission control within the fake wind turbine, the crew is observing the spoilt brat's every move in the new surroundings. The project is not a flawless replica of 1860s Russia, because Grisha lacks a basic understanding of Russian history. He is unable to recognize the many oddities that surround him. The actors are free to visit mission control and rehydrate while they aren't working. Meanwhile, trying to reason logically, Grisha still vehemently denies the possibility of falling into the past, but then gradually comes to terms with the position of a serf. He is forced to labor in the stable for the next several days with no opportunity for rest. He is given vegetarian food that is hardly edible and made to urinate in the open. Grisha once finds Aglaya sobbing by herself. He consoles her, and while they talk, she says that her father is pressuring her to wed an elderly and wealthy landowner. On the other hand, Grisha doesn't feel sorry for her, since he thinks Aglaya would be better off marrying someone wealthier than her father. He claims she will be able to keep all the money for herself when her husband passes away. It turns out that this was the scriptwriter's intention for Grisha to start a relationship with Aglaya, which would later lead to a serf eloping with a lady and a radical change in outlook on life. Sadly, the idea completely fails. One day, Grisha steals one of Lord's chickens because she is sick of eating disgusting food. He locates a pan to cook chicken soup with Artyom's assistance, and utilizes the feathers to create a comfortable pillow for himself. But unfortunately, he doesn't give Artyom any of the chicken soup, which irritates the screenplay authors again. Later, when the chicken goes missing, Avdi gathers all the serfs, insists the thief come forward, and threatens to punish a random serf if they don't. Grisha, predictably, refuses to confess to taking the chicken, and as a consequence, Avdi decides to punish the innocent Artyom. On the other hand, Grisha stands shamelessly while Artyom is carried away to be punished. Meanwhile, Grisha's lack of progress makes Pavel more irritated and restless. To make matters worse, he discovers that Arnoldovich is not Anna's former customer, but rather her ex-husband. The millionaire is shocked by this information since he had begun to feel something for Anna. He confronts her about it, but she responds that she is not required to reveal private things about herself since they are only friends with benefits. Later, Artyom confronts Grisha for not admitting to his wrongdoing and for allowing him to escape punishment. The remorseless Grisha responds, "I don't care," and claims that Avdi made the decision to punish him. While the two are conversing, Grisha spots a rural girl named Lisa dismounting from a horse. She unexpectedly reveals her trendy Victoria's Secret underwear as she sits down. Before realizing that he just spotted a modern panty in the 18th century village, Grisha makes a joke. He knocks her on the ground after smelling a rat and attempts to see under her skirt. However, Artyom hastily removes him from her before he can do so. Despite this, the stubborn Grisha nevertheless manages to see her skirt and notice that she is undressed. Then it becomes clear that Lisa deftly got rid of her red underwear before Grisha could reach it. After the event, Pavel returns to the control room and decides to halt the project since he has had enough of his son's behavior not changing. Anna and Arnoldovich try to convince him against pulling the plug, but without success. When Grisha sees how others are reacting, he understands that he has gone too far. For the first time in his life, he returns to the person he has hurt to ask for forgiveness. Pavel is amazed by this and decides to go through with the idea. Since then, Grisha has developed a sincere bond with Lisa. After seeing this, Arnoldovich suggests changing the scenario so that she becomes the target of Grisha's affection. Liza despises the spoilt brat, but she agrees to work with him to get better. Grisha progressively alters his opinions about life and himself along the process. He begins to hate his past as he often witnesses Alexei, the Lord's rude and arrogant son. Here it is revealed that Anton, the actor who plays Alexei, is Liza's lover in real life. After Liza takes over as the project's main actress, the actress portraying Aglaia starts to feel jealous of Liza. She therefore convinces Anton that Liza intends to begin a relationship with Grisha. One thing leads to another, and the two begin to have intercourse. Unfortunately for them, Liza and Grisha spot them. Liza is upset because her lover cheated on her, while Grisha only thinks Aglaia and her brother Alexei are having an extramarital relationship. Liza is really depressed that evening, so Grisha makes a lovely meal for her and decorates the barn with candles to cheer her up. Liza is quite pleased with the action. They leave soon after and spend the night outside under the stars. Grisha professes his affections to Liza while stargazing, and the two kiss. On the other side, an enraged Arnoldovich fires both Aglaia and Alexei. In return, Polina, the actress who plays Aglaia, makes the project public. She states that a man is being tormented. Soon after, police started investigating the project with the assistance of Polina. Now that time is running out, Arnoldovich and the writers come up with a last-minute strategy to permanently alter Grisha's mindset. They want the Mongols, often known as the Golden Horde, to invade Russia in the 19th century. Actually, the Golden Horde was an empire that began to crumble in the 15th century. However, Grisha doesn't notice this anachronism. The Mongols soon come and kidnap Liza, but instead of rescuing her, Grisha reverts to his selfish, cowardly behavior and flees, potentially dooming the project. However, when he gets a bit far, he eventually realizes that he has always run from difficulties and left behind his loved ones. As a result, he returns to the scene with renewed courage, heroically fights the intruders, and saves Liza. The two then take a horse and flee moments before the cops show up and search the set. Fortunately, Grisha has already departed, and because everyone else is an actor, they simply think that the project is a historical film set and leave. In another place, Grisha rides his horse for a while till he comes to a petrol station. As expected, he is taken aback by the modern world, but before he can make sense of it, a set member shoots him with a tranquilizer, knocking him unconscious. He is informed upon awakening that he lapsed into a coma for 3 months and that all of his fantasies were only hallucinations. As he continues to grow as a person, Grisha understands that Liza was never a real person. He thus experiences depression. At a bar one day, he meets with Polina and Anton, the actors who portrayed Aglaia and Alexei. The actors feel sorry for him when they see how sad he is and explain him everything. Grisha becomes overjoyed at hearing this and begins looking for Liza immediately. He ultimately locates her in a barn, and they reunite in love. On the other hand, Pavel reveals his affections to Anna and the two marry. The film then ends with the son of another billionaire being led into the village and made to think he has fallen into medieval Russia via deception. This time, Grisha observes as an employee of the project. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.